The movement for Washington, D.C. statehood is one of the longest-running and most contentious debates in American democracy. Despite being the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. is home to over 700,000 residents who lack full representation in Congress. They have no voting senators and only a non-voting delegate in the House. A proposed D.C. Statehood Amendment would change that. At that, granting residents the same representation and self-governance enjoyed by citizens in the 50 states. The roots of D.C.'s status lie in the U.S. Constitution, which designated the capital as a federal district, independent of any one state. The Founding Fathers wanted to avoid favoritism by preventing any single state from housing the national government. As written in Article 1's Section 8, Congress was granted full authority over the district, effectively denying residents federal voting rights. Early in U.S. history, this wasn't seen as problematic. D.C. was a small federal city, and most residents retained voting rights through home state ties. But as the city's population grew, especially among African American and working-class communities, the lack of representation evolved into a civil rights issue. Some progress came with the 23rd Amendment in 1961, allowing D.C. residents to vote in presidential elections, but they still lacked full congressional representation. The Home Rule Act of 1973 gave D.C. an elected mayor and city council, but Congress retained veto power over local laws and the city's budget, something no other U.S. city is subjected to. Efforts toward statehood picked up steam over time. A 1993 House vote on statehood failed, but in the 21st century, the movement gained traction as D.C.'s population exceeded those of Wyoming and Vermont, both of which enjoy full Senate and House representation. In 2020 and 2021, the House passed bills to make D.C. the 51st state, proposing the name Washington Douglas Commonwealth to honor Frederick Douglass. However, the bills stalled in the Senate, where opponents argued that statehood requires a constitutional amendment, not just an act of Congress. Supporters of D.C. statehood argue, 1. It's a civil rights issue. 700,000 plus citizens lack a voice in Congress. 2. D.C. pays billions in federal taxes without full representation. 3. Smaller states have more federal power despite fewer residents. 4. Congress's control over local D.C. governance is undemocratic. Opponents argue, Saru 1. The founders intended D.C. to remain federal, requiring an amendment to change B. 2. Statehood would shift the political balance, likely benefiting Democrats. 3. Alternatives exist, such as retroceding parts of D.C. to Maryland, because constitutional amendments require 2/3 of Congress and ratification by 38 states. The path to statehood via amendment is steep. Some advocates maintain Congress has the authority to grant statehood through legislation, while critics insist only an amendment would be valid. The push for D.C. statehood is ongoing and closely tied to broader debates on voting rights, representation, and democracy. As these issues remain at the forefront of national politics, the movement is likely to continue gaining attention and support in the years to come.